City of San Antonio for their engagement and their enthusiastic participation at all times. And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce our own Chancellor from the Alamo Colleges District, Dr. Mike Flores. Doctor, welcome.
Thank you, Alejandra. And I am excited with the level of participation, and that we're fortunate to have many artists, distinguished scholars, and also to have a very important guest with us this evening as we do the introductions. So I would like to mention that we actually have a strong relationship between the city of San Antonio and India. And I think this event in and of itself is critical in enhancing that relationship. So if we were to look at the relationship that has been forged with Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India, in fact, is one of San Antonio's sister cities, and that was established in 2008. And the Alamo Colleges District is happy to make these connections among additional cities and other countries more meaningful, in addition to strengthening our current relationships. We have continuously at the Alamo Colleges District collaborated with India. During the past year, in fact, we have had binational webinars between faculty and the Alamo Colleges District and institutions within India. And we are currently participating in a grant from the US State Department and providing training in renewable energy with the Hindustan Institute of Technology and Science in Chennai and Ramakrishna College of Engineering. So I think it goes to further enhance and explain what a vibrant relationship looks like. And we look forward, and I look forward, in fact, to virtual exchanges in the next academic year. But today, and in fact tonight, we are celebrating collaborations amongst Alamo Colleges District faculty, and look forward to hearing from one of our colleagues, Dr. Alba De Leon, and recognized artists from India. 15% of our international student population at the 5 colleges from Alamo Colleges District are from India. And we are honored this evening to have Ambassador Asim Mahajan joining us today, and to have the distinguished artist Tanvi Jain visit our city and college. Welcome. If we were to look at these trying times, but also the relevance of art as a social connector, it is important to note that art helps us interact, discuss, and reflect with different cultures, nationalities, and backgrounds. And so I just want to leave you with the thought that the Alamo Colleges District, all of us as part of our family, faculty, staff, and students are committed to this partnership, and indeed are committed to wonderful partnerships and engagements that we have focused on issues of sustainability, as highlighted in the relationship with the William Sinkin Ecocentro operated at one of our sister colleges, San Antonio College, and the goal that the Sinkin Center has. And I see many of my colleagues from that, so thank you for your partnership and what you've provided. And I close with a deep welcome to our guest of honor and to my colleagues, and I look forward to this evening's engagement. Thank you, Alejandra.
Thank you so much, Chancellor Flores, for being here with us this evening and sharing with us this celebration of friendship and art. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce our guest of honor, Ambassador Asim Mahajan. He's Consul General of India. He's based in Houston. He joined the Indian Foreign Service in 1998, and prior to assuming charge as Consul General of India in Houston, he was Ambassador of India to the World Trade Organization in Geneva. In his earlier diplomatic assignment, he has served as the Deputy High Commissioner in Indian missions in Kuala Lumpur and Dhaka, and as the Consul General of India in Osaka, Japan. He has also served in Indian missions in Tokyo and Vientiane, Laos. In the Ministry of External Affairs, New Delhi, he has served on various desks handling affairs related to the United Nations, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, and Maldives. Besides, he also served as Chief of Staff Officer of the Minister of State for External Affairs and as Joint Secretary coordinating the management of the annual Hajj pilgrimage from India. He has a master's degree in diplomatic studies from the University of Oxford, a master's degree in management studies from Birla Institute of Technology and Science, and has completed 2 annual training courses in WTO law from the Advisory Center on WTO Law Geneva. He speaks Japanese apart from English, Hindi, and some other Indian languages. He's married with a son and daughter. Please join me to welcome our guest of honor, Ambassador Mahajan. Excuse me, Mahajan.
Yeah. Thank you, Alejandra, and Chancellor Mike Flores, Dr. Alba Leon from the Palo Alto College, Sabra Booth, Carrie Bai, and Tanvi, who's joining us from India. It's really a great pleasure for me to join all of you on this event, which is being organized. From Trash to Treasures is the title of this topical discussion. And as all of you know, and Chancellor Flores has already highlighted, India shares a very strong connect with the city of San Antonio. As 2 vibrant democracies having open and multicultural societies with shared values, India and United States are natural partners. We have a comprehensive strategic partnership which is broad-based and growing. The important pillars of our partnership, besides, of course, energy, defense, and security, growing people-to-people contacts, and trade and investment. These are areas which are really deepening. We share a very strong connect with this part of United States, including with the city of San Antonio. The city of San Antonio has a sister city relationship with the city of Chennai, as all of you are already aware. The city of San Antonio also happens to host one of the biggest Diwalis, which when I came in and I learned about it, it is one of the largest Diwalis hosted by a city here. We do one of the most outstanding International Day of Yoga events in the city, and they do something called a yoga marathon. So the yoga goes on for almost 14 hours, and I can assure you it's one of the best and most beautiful events I have seen. They do it in front of old historic heritage monuments, and they do it besides the river there in the nice river walk. It's a beautiful city with a very big growing Indo-American community there. So I'm happy to join this continued dialogue. We earlier have on the sister city relationship also connected on a number of other events. I think the Chancellor is here, so let me take this opportunity to throw a bit of more light on our growing engagement in the area of education and research. India has just launched the new education policy, which is really historic in terms of it. After 3 decades, we have a new education policy, which is going to bring, I would say, a quantum leap in India's approach to education. It is a policy which makes it easier for making courses multidisciplinary, multi-focused, and maybe Tanvi would share, of course, on the art side with you, but it offers a great amount of opportunities for building institutional linkages, for joint research, joint exchange programs, and several other areas in education. This part of United States gets around 30,000 Indian students, but again, in this year's latest figures, which have been released by the US government, India remains as the country with the 2nd largest number of Indian students studying here, which is also manifest, I'm sure, in the enrollment of the Alamo College and the number of Indian students studying there. I find that during these COVID times, like many others, you have innovated onto a virtual exchange program between students, which again, I think is something a year back we never knew. When I moved from Geneva, from the world of trade, where I was a trade negotiator for 4 years in the World Trade Organization, I came here in January last year, and since mid-March, we have been having mostly these interactions which are virtual. While we do miss the people-to-people contact and in-person meetings, perhaps, you know, if this event would have been in the college itself, and then there is a group of students in front of you, and all these 3 very acclaimed young artists would have presented their works there. But this also presents an opportunity connecting globally in such a short time. I'm connecting here from Houston, and Chancellor Flores is there, and Tanvi, who's from India, and many of us who are joining. So it does throw an opportunity for us. I should also highlight one or two other interesting facts about India, which are very topical and I think which make great relevance for this discussion today. India is amongst the youngest countries in the world. We have a population of 1.3 billion people, with almost 350 million people below the age of 50 years, which when I tell people, if you reduce it to a statistic, 30-40%, it seems small, but it's a very large number. More than 600 million people below the age of 25, and the average age of India will be 29 in the coming years, which I think is a great opportunity for us. At the same time, it's a challenge in terms of the growing demand for quality education, the very competitive education system which we have in India, and also the requirement of number of schools. And there is where colleges like the Alamo College can play a very big role. You have a unique program which is the need of the hour in countries like India, the skill development, vocational training, and courses which are oriented to the job market. With this huge youth in India, one of the largest pool of technical trained manpower, I think the opportunity is immense. We will also connect with you later in the coming months. We are trying to do a pan-US conference of colleges to highlight these various opportunities thrown by the new education policy. And when I interact with various colleges, the presidents, the various academic faculty, they are very excited to build institutional linkages. And already we have a lot of commonalities which are manifest by the very large number of professionals who are studying here and who have been part of the doctors, the engineers, which expresses that it's very easy to migrate from the Indian system to United States. We have common foundational systems, a lot of commonalities, and people don't find it difficult to come from bachelor's to master's here. This part of United States, I should also briefly mention, we are trying to deepen our connect in areas like healthcare and medical research, which again, San Antonio has a big community there in information communication technologies, advanced manufacturing, aerospace and defense, and energy. Houston happens to be the energy capital of the world. So that is another big connect, and that translates into the educational system also in terms of the requirement of vocational training. Chancellor, you are here. I would, of course, this event is about these young artists who are doing outstanding work, and they are the trash to treasure thing, which is going to be the subject of discussion, is also something on our cultural linkages. With such a vibrant Indo-American community here, which is growing, we share very strong cultural linkages, growing tourism, people-to-people contacts. And I will connect personally more on trying to do more on the skill development and vocational training side. I think that is an area which offers really immense opportunities. If you can design programs for Indian colleges, do joint programs, a semester here, a semester there, and guide them to design curriculums. You already have working relationships with many institutions in India, and at the consulate, let me reassure you, we look forward to acting as bridges between you and institutions in India, and also to explore this immense potential in the area of skill development and vocational training. And for these young artists who are there today, I think Tanvi will, of course, touch upon many other themes, but I will mention an interesting thing to you from my Japanese days. We have something in India which is called Jugaad technology. Jugaad is actually the name of a vehicle which was made from old pumps. It has an engine of a water pump, and it is basically reusing for local needs. Jugaad, the word itself, there are books written on it. I won't get into the depths of the word, but it is basically a concept in India where people, even though they have limited resources, they try to innovate. And this vehicle was made as a cross between a tractor and a water pump, and some wheels put together, and as a mode of transport and for other multi-purpose things, which across the world people try to do. Countries, I find many developing countries, they try to put a lot of resources to use in the limited way they have, but India innovates a lot on that front. We try to do our best in terms of the local technology, the local resources, and there is a very growing drive in India on sustainability and on we are working together in areas like climate change, sustainability, and artists like Tanvi and of course the two other artists who are there today with us, Sabra and Carrie. I'm sure they work in all their areas, which can then help us to understand more about how art can also find a cross linkage with this new drive for sustainability, for sustainable living, and for communities to thrive and use their resources in the best possible manner. So these are some of the thoughts I wanted to exchange, and I don't want to take more of your time, but please consider this as a continued dialogue, Chancellor, with the college. We will connect more with you and work to deepen these institutional linkages and on these many areas of skill development and vocational training. So thank you again.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Mahajan, for joining us this evening, and we appreciate very much your words, and you being here tonight is a true testament of the good friendship and the good collaborations that are ongoing between Alamo colleges and the state of Texas and San Antonio, and art and training with India. So thank you so much for joining us. Now it's my great pleasure to introduce our wonderful moderator and conceiver-in-chief of this whole concept, Dr. Alba De Leon from Palo Alto College. I would like to welcome her, and she's gonna introduce our fantastic artists from Texas and from India. So join me to welcome, please, Dr. Alba De Leon from Palo Alto College.
Good evening, everybody. It's so wonderful to be with you. And before I introduce the artist today, I see some students, their names are here. And so I want to thank the students for taking the time to come and join us tonight, because these sessions really arise in the classroom and student curiosity and our own discovery about arts. I also would like to mention Palo Alto leadership that has been tremendously supportive, and also my companions and colleagues that are here today that are also artists in their own right and have supported myself and students. We have a gallery work that we do at Palo Alto. So to all of y'all that I know, and those of you that I will be meeting, and tonight to some of you who will be answering in your own way, the fact that you are an artist who has perhaps worked with unconventional media or is discovering that in yourself. As the ambassador mentioned, this is an ongoing series, so there will be many people at the stage. And today we are just the ones beginning it with you. And so our international artist is Tampy John. She actually has been working with me in the classroom and with students. And this has gone on over the course of a year. And you will hear from her today, and she will present her work and her research. The next is Sabra Booth. Sabra Booth serves as a faculty member, an adjunct faculty member at Palo Alto College, and also a local artist. In her career, she has been not only a studio practicing artist, but also an academic who explores the complex interplay between art, ecology, and identity. And we will be hearing from her. And today we also have Calder Kameen from Austin, University of Texas in Austin. And she is an artist, educator, and advocate. She transforms trash into beautifully crafted creatures and opportunities to inspire others to be creative and courageous about the future. Welcome, everybody. So if we can begin, Tanvi, with your presentation today. Oh, I also, just as a reminder, I want to make sure that everybody knows that we'll have 3 presentations. We will be doing a Q&A, so take your notes down. If you want to make comments in the chat, please do so that we can make this an active interaction with all of us. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Alba. And I would say this would not have been possible without you and Alejandra And I'm very pleased and honored to be a part of this event today. I would really like to thank the Consul General of India, Mr. Mahajan, and also the Chancellor we have with us. So I'm so glad that you could make it. And and I would also like to extend my gratitude to Alamo colleges and everyone that has worked for this event. So thank you so much. And before I start, as Mahajan sir was talking about the Jugaad, it's actually he's pretty much right. We have a lot of research going on this frugal innovation, and we are rocking in that, I think. And so from here, I'll start my screen share. Yeah, Alba, is it visible?
Yes, it
Yes,
is.
it is.
Okay, so as we've gathered here to discuss the use and potential of unconventional non-art and I would say everyday material in art, so I would like to tell you and walk you through my journey of exploring and exploring repurposed discarded objects. And I would also like to brief you a little about my research, which is as we have seen Mr. Mahajan talking about this. So it has to do a lot with how we can incorporate these blooming ideas in sustainable environment. So the research is basically about, so I'm very much interested about this concept of creative reuse centers that you have it in US here. And I really hope and aspire to have such a organization in India too. So my research is all about that. And it's I think it's a great idea to have such an organization in India. So I'm looking for possibilities. I mean, I'm just in the initial stage of that. So but the idea was tremendous. I've been to ACR recently, last day, and I mean, I was really fascinated about what they're doing, and if we could do that in India, this would be like amazing. So okay, so let me just start and walk you through my journey of exploring repurposed objects in my art. So okay, so I would start by talking about how my academic training and also how the place itself has inspired me to do whatever I'm doing today. So okay, so I did my master's from Kalabhavan Shantiniketan. So it is a place in eastern state of India. So it's in West Bengal, and it's the place Shantiniketan. It's very close to Kolkata. And as the word literally means abode of peace, and it is a remote place which is located in the heart of nature. So okay, yeah, so the school was basically established by Rabindranath Tagore, and from its very inception, it was modeled on the principles of humanism, internationalism, and also sustainable environment. And Tagore envisioned education that was deeply rooted in one's immediate surroundings, but was also connected to the cultures of the wider world. Now, so the guiding principle of the school is, best described in his own words that I will just quickly read out. So he says that the highest education is that which does not merely give us information, but makes our lives in harmony with all existence. So I think I'm following that principle too. So, so they have always worked to blend the Western and traditional Eastern Indian education system, and the curriculum revolve organically around nature, where we still used to have classes and discussions under the tree. So this is something very unique I've seen there. And so Tagore always wanted his students to feel free, despite being in a formal learning environment of the school. So he had always encouraged encounters and collaboration with local artists and artisans and community. And And I would also like to mention about Nandan Mela, which is an annual art and craft fair that Kala Bhavan have each year. So this is organized in the campus itself to celebrate the birth anniversary of Nandlal Bose, who was the first principal of Kala Bhavan Shanti Niketan. So, he aimed to bridge the gap between fine arts and living tradition, which I feel is the major problem. This is why we are not able to connect to the wider population. There's a huge difference that people face between fine arts and, living traditions. So he proposed to revive the indigenous art for our local community. So during the fair, students get to involve in a lot of activities, be it putting up art stalls by different departments that they have. And then they have artworks from teachers and students, which they sell it at very affordable prices to raise funds and, to make an awareness among the local community over there in India. Now, thousands of people from abroad in India join this fair, and it's immensely popular over there. So now, apart from putting up stalls, we have also collaborated, when I was a student there. So we've collaborated to create monumental outdoor sculptures, which were mostly from natural and discarded stuff. So here are a few pictures, So this one, when you see, it's made up of used terracotta oil lamps that we call diya. And this is something very popular in India. It's used in religious offerings and a lot of other things. So this is another. This is done by used teacups and also used textile. And this one's made from hay, bamboo, and discarded clothes, and also used cardboard boxes. And then there's this one, which is done from used plastic bags and also used fabric. Okay, so now, here I was offered a curriculum and environment that was a unique blend of art, human values, and also cultural interchanges. Now, this is the work that I did in the early years of my master's degree. And, at that time, I wasn't really thinking much about using discarded objects. So instead, I would say it was an outcome of my deep observations of our lives as we are living today. So I had started observing things that often go unnoticed because of their banality. So I would say that the institution was actually teaching me how to observe rather than how to make. So, and at the same time, I was also exploring or questioning the temporalities of memories and emotions that I was experiencing, because, it was for the first time that I had shifted from Delhi, and Delhi being the capital of India is a metro city. And from there, I had shifted to a remote place like Shantiniketan. So it was like a huge cultural difference and a huge cultural change for me. So, through this work, I was trying to explore tensions between freedom and alienation, which I was experiencing. Now, though these basins have been picked up from waste, but the initial idea wasn't really much about using waste. So I was instead conceptualizing the functionality of basins with my personal layer of meanings. And at that time I was really fascinated, and I wanted to experiment with the dimensionality of objects in my works. Now, soon I realized that, and I became interested in the history and memory of discarded objects. So, and also since then, most of my projects have been research-based, involving collaboration with local communities and an active participation of the spectator. So I would say that since the beginning of 2015, I was involved in this project, which was based on modular kitchens. So the project included systematic process research and also documentation. So what I was doing was I had surveyed the recently built modern houses of Shantiniketan, and I had collected the waste old iron railings from these homes. Now, the women in these houses were from different professional and societal status who were actually interviewed to know the role of kitchen in their life. So I was reading a lot about, how gender stereotypes was sabotaging women's self-esteem, and all these things were going together in my mind. So I was interested to see how, they experience fulfillment through sharing, nurturing, and relating. We all have seen that. Now, their sense of self was basically, defined through their feeling and quality of their relationships. So what I did, I built a structure of a modular kitchen by by welding these old iron railings, which became the armature for the work. And now I'll give you a closer look of it. So the shadows that you see here are objects, that have been placed behind this structure. So, okay, so these women that I have interviewed have, treasured these objects from years. So, some of them got it from their mother, some of them got it from a memorable trip, etc. And, but it was of no use anymore, but they had it with them. So they didn't knew what to do with it. So now, these women, they actually wanted me to project a reflection of their identity through these objects in my work. So they actually gave it to me. And also the text that you see here are the thoughts and emotions of those people here. So, this is how I work. Not everything is predetermined, but I rather go with the flow. I see what comes next, and I've never planned to collect these objects, but I eventually got them. So now, okay, now you've also might have noticed the transition. So earlier it was like more of object creation kind of thing, which gradually transforms to more of research-based and collaboration-based projects. Now, moving on to next, now my practice, draws from a wealth of complex history, I would say, and also present realities. So this particular work draws references from the unnatural acts of the historic Second World War. So this was a curated project. Now the work basically stretches beyond this historic event and also includes multiple contemporary meanings to it. From the historic reference, I was trying to look at how female sexual identity was used as a tool of oppression in the concentration camps, such as, we know Auschwitz and Bergen-Belsen and etc. So this was, sabotaging the deeply held internal sense of their feminine self, I would say. Because, upon arrival in most of these camps, women were led into a room where they had to undergo a systematic procedure of hair sharing. And they were informed that this will prevent lice and things, and also the reason seemed plausible. But when I went through the interviews of these survivors, I would say, they shared how sharing served as a means of degrading and humiliating. So the text that you see in the work actually plays an integral part, which comes directly from the survivors. So what I've done is I've juxtaposed these person stories with scientific, social, and mythological references that talks about various sensibilities around hair and femininity. So here so this is a closer look. Now, throughout this work, I'm trying to see like what is the personal experience of our transforming physical appearance, and what is the social behavior towards that change. So, and another very important layer of meaning gets added when I, got to interact with the female cancer survivors. So, they contributed in the project by sharing their stories and contributing their hair. And I would say that it personifies the psychological state during the physiological transformation that occurs. So as you see, these bold plastic letters that you might notice. So I'll tell you an incident behind it. So during my research, I was just walking and I came across this small cosmetic shop who had this huge name board with these huge plastic letters, which was named Femina. And outside in the glass display, they had this huge collection of hair wigs. So, suddenly I could join all the dots and all these references came in together. So I went to this plastic lettering shop and asked them for leftover pieces of transparent plastic sheets. And from there, I got this whole thing modeled. Now, the text that you see here is actually embroidered using hair and thread, which, when you see this work physically, so you'll see that how this work at once attracts you and at the same time it creates a sense of physical repulsion. So you see, this is how I'm trying to look at the duality of waste material, which is hair, which is a marker of beauty, gives you a feeling of disgust when it gets detached from the body and when it gets disposed of. So the work also, so in the previous picture, you might have seen, the work also allows the spectators to interact. So this ensures a deeper sensitivity and connects the idea in a broader context. Now, okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just quickly going to show you a couple of images of my similar projects, but I'm not going to go into details. Okay, so this is one and this is another. So basically, I'm trying to show you the range of objects and materials that I use in my work. And also, I would say that material in my works has an informed use most of the time, and most of the times it's repurposed and reused. So it's very rarely the new material that I use. And so, for example, I use henna. I've used henna in this, embroidered, and then I've used magazine cutouts and burnt paper, waste paper, a lot of other things. Okay, so moving on to my latest project. So in this project, I am actually collecting old discarded garments, which might be of personal or some historic significance. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to dismantle the whole, garment back into the fiber. So, the painstaking, no, I would say rather the meditative process of, unweaving the warp and waft of the cloth itself becomes crucial to the work. So, most of the time it's the process that I'm interested in. And I really don't know what I'm going to do with this thing in the end, but this is how I work. So for me, it's more about the process rather than the final product. So because process creates interaction, and be it with material or be it with people. So now, okay, coming to my research. Now, as you have seen that, as an artist, my works have consistently explored numerous ways to interact with discarded material. So I would like to share an incident. I remember when I was in Netherlands, I went there for an exchange program. So I had seen artists and students collecting discarded stuff from curbside, but I really had no idea about organizations like Creative Reuse Center. There might be some, but I had never been across one. So over the years, with my interest in repurposing waste materials and a deeper understanding of social and environmental impact of art, I joined the doctoral program at IIT Kanpur, which further strengthened these ideas. Now, briefly, the current research examines the repurposing of materials and objects in art with a special focus on the use of waste or trash in contemporary art. So this study explores how artists divert tons of waste from landfills, reinserting into the economic cycle of production and consumption. So, I'm working with a lot of contemporary artists, and most of them are Indian. So, who practice predominantly, their practice predominantly relies on the use of waste. So, in developing countries, working with trash or local material also projects an intuitive logic of being resourceful, I would say. And also it challenges the hierarchies of accepted materials in art. And through a recent field study, I came to know that we really need something like a scrap store or a creative reuse center in India. This would be something of a real help there. And I've been in contact with a lot of contemporary artists and art students. And so I think this is what draws me to United States and these organizations, because as I was mentioning, I have been to ACR, which is Austin Creative Reuse. And I was really fascinated about how they are operating the whole system and how they've managed to do and how they've managed to get in so much of material, and how this is not just serving artists but a larger community, be it kids, be it teachers, be it designers, fashion designers, interior designing. I don't know. Everyone I think is benefiting from these organizations. So I think that is all from my side. I would just like to end by saying that, I feel that joining PhD was a real eye-opening experience for me in terms of the in-depth understanding of both, what we are and what we do in life. And apart from the thorough understanding of the subject, I also think that it has impacted me as a social being. So I really hope that this research, adds up and really proves beneficial for the society we live in. Yeah, that's it. And I would like to end here. Thank you so much.
That was wonderful, Tanvi. So nice to see more of your work.
Thank you so much, Sabre.
Hi, everyone.
I haven't seen it personally, but I've seen a couple of videos, and I'm totally in love with your works.
Oh.
And the process too.
Thank you. Should I just go dive in? Right. I got to. Okay. Thank you. And I'm so glad you got to see ACR. Mm-hmm. So I'm a creative reuse artist, and I'll tell you why. But first I got involved tonight because of Austin Creative Reuse. I sit on the board and I was asked to join last minute, but I wanted, Tanvi seeing the value in creative reuse centers. And I thought I would share with y'all how creative reuse centers got started in the US. And it's all thanks to Ruth Asawa. So this is some of my quarantine reading. I read Everything She Touched. It's the biography about Ruth Asawa. And not only did she start creative reuse centers, the scrap chain, originally it was going to be called CRAP, creative reuse for artistic projects, but that wasn't going to fly. So then they became scrap, and they exist today. But that all started with her. She was living in San Francisco and saw value after being a student at Black Mountain College, saw the value in Bauhaus education, where children need to touch materials. Children need to learn from actual artists. But she had no money, and so she started created a creative reuse program in order to collect cardboard and different art supplies for the children to use. So thanks to Ruth Asawa, creative reuse centers exist, and very much I'm a girl after my own heart. She does very this obsessive wire wrapping, and most of my work really is on this like meditative, repetitive kind of work and transforming a material into a totally new way. So I have always been inspired by nature. I've always been inspired by animals. Grew up in Austin, Texas. We have a very unique ecosystem. We have our own animals that are unique to Austin, like the blind salamander in Barton Springs, the bats that roost under our urban bridges in downtown. I always saw value in that, and I would make little animals in polymer clay. I went to study ceramics at the Kansas City Art Institute, so still made animals in clay. It wasn't until, and all of the themes were about allegories about how we impact the natural world. It was after undergrad that I took up birding as a hobby. I'd watch birds from my yard. I was living in Kansas City, and we're in this fantastic flyaway with the migration, and I got to know the birds better, their colors, their songs. It felt like my community. These were all my friends. And I got really interested in citizen science. So anybody can be a scientist. There was tons of education out there. And I started to think about how I could include education into my art practice as well. The most unique behavior that I learned from the birds, and I'm sure we've all seen this if you live in the city, is they collect trash and build their architecture out of it. And I was just like, wow, I should be a bird. I need to be more like birds. They're using what is in the environment, and they're building a safe structure for the next generation. Upon more research, I even found out there was a study about house finches in Mexico City that were using filter cartridges from cigarettes to line their nests, and the nicotine acted as a pesticide. So those babies were healthier. So just the innovation of nature to use things around them. And I was using clay, which is literally me tearing out material from the earth, using toxic chemicals, using all this energy in order to turn it into stone that lasts forever. So I started, the first project I did was I collected birth control packets from my girlfriends, and I would cut little frogs out of them. The synthetic estrogen in the environment, frogs are losing their sex drive or all becoming female. And I made these, and seeing about biodiversity is on a decline, synthetic diversity is increasing, and I had 28 different kinds of birth control from all over the world. And to reference both the cycle and this diversity within synthetic materials. I also collected trash from my neighborhood for the birds to use for their nests, and I made little pods and I put them in the tree, and the bird would use that material and build their nest in the tree. And then I started playing with plastic bags. So I'm going to take you a little tour on my studio. So this is a little corner in my living room, is acting as my studio. When COVID hit, I was building an entire immersive forest out of materials. That's now occupying my studio, but as you can see a little bit here, I'll try to give you all as good of a close-up here of some of the materials I'm using. Sorry, trying to figure out the lighting, the best way to do this. So plastic bags, I crochet them. Down here, marker caps are now one of my favorite things to use. So now I use the whole animal too. I will take the dried out marker and turn it into ink wash. And then I will use the caps to make flowers. These are Easter eggs. I usually focus on scavenger animals. So these are all canines. We kind of manufactured wolves into dogs. They're part human, they're scavengers, they eat garbage. So we're a lot alike. And during quarantine, I made one of my favorite little canines this is my dog Pixel. She's taking a nap right now. But I also made Pixel. So originally what I was doing was I twisted the plastic bags. So this texture here is all plastic, and I twist it and twist it and twist it until it makes this fur or grass texture. But you can see some of the other materials. These are koozies. We get lots of koozies in Austin with the South by Southwest, all the promotional stuff. And Pixel comes with a little mat. I'm now crocheting t-shirts and stripping the t-shirts. It may be a little bit more archival than the plastic bags, but Pixel matches her her little rug. I can show you here kind of more of this setup. Here, this one's a little more monochromatic. Really playing with color now. COVID's been, I don't know for you two, Sabra and Tanvi, like how ideation has maybe been a little bit difficult during COVID, but I've had so many ideas that I never had time for, and now I've gotten to make time for, and I've been really open to materials and process, finding new materials, experimenting with the new materials, playing with form and color a lot more. And also I always taking things from what I learn, read, research, and was getting really into how color is a language in nature, and how bees and birds see the ultraviolet spectrum. And I saw these students at the University of Texas, where I'm the career services manager, the architecture students for their thesis shared what they thought bee vision would look like. It was so fascinating. It was 32 different theses on what the bee vision could look like. Looks like bees are just tripping all the time, but just like that's where this one's like, it's called ultraviolet vixen. Just make the purple spectrum sings to animals and the yellow spectrum sings to animals. So
Calder, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
It has been so interesting for us to be able to have a peek into your home studio. And for those of you who have wondered how we may have been working at in our classrooms, this is part of it. So you got a fantastic view into the world. And I'd like to move now to Sabra, who's going to share something with us, and then we'll open it for a Q&A, please.
Okay, so hey everybody, I'm Sabra. I'm gonna start this video that you're looking at and we'll see a shortened version. Hey everyone, my name is Sabra Booth and I'm happy to be participating in the panel Trash to Treasure tonight. So I am an artist based out of San Antonio, Texas, although I show regionally, nationally, and sometimes even internationally. And the ecological concerns, the use of natural materials, and in some cases repurposing materials has been a facet of my work for really my whole professional career. In fact, I am wearing something that's been repurposed. You'll notice my shirt has images. This is a silk shirt that I got at a resale shop, and I silk screened it with photographs of refineries I saw in Corpus Christi, Texas. And I did some drips that sort of look like oil spills on my cuffs. And then I even signed my name here on one of these cuffs. I didn't sign it, I silk screened it. Hey, I'm gonna put on another light, lower my camera. And I'm gonna move this forward a bit so that with my slick project.
And while we're moving forward, just know that these presentations will be offered at another time as we move forward to other programming. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Alba. One. Okay. Inside, I have, this is my slick book. It's a little tricky to get it right to this point, but that's a melted slide carousel. Construction. And inside, I have a artist-made book. So 2010, the Deepwater Horizon spill happened in the Gulf of Mexico, and I was not a happy camper about that. I love the oceans. I've always been near oceans. I grew up in South Florida and Houston, and then I was in Brooklyn for a while. So I've always been near the water. In fact, I have family that to this day, to my knowledge, owns a shipyard in Edinburgh. So this is made from repurposed rubber. It's gaskets that are put into an oil pipe. So the oil like flows through here. And I silk screened and relief printed images relative to the oil spill. I'd first gone out to Grand Isle in Louisiana and witnessed what happened there. And it was terrible on Grand Isle, which is an island, the only real beach in Louisiana that's out facing the ocean, and they got the brunt of it. So I did see the destruction firsthand. And I started a stop motion animation while I was in Louisiana, and then I finished it in San Antonio. But that really spurred me to make this artist book. I show at a gallery in New York called Central Booking, and they specialize in artist books and nature and science type topics. So this is a relief print. This is printed from plants along the Gulf Coast, the Texas Gulf Coast. And it was tricky printing because as I printed it under the press bed, oh, rubber stretches, uh-oh. So I had to figure that all out. And the type of rubber mattered. So I found a certain durometer. I learned fancy words like durometer mattered in how good of a print I got. So Halliburton is who really bought from this place in town where I would get the rubber, and the man that worked there, he found my artistic ventures quite entertaining. He really discounted everything for me. That's the Pollyanna shrimp boat. It really is. There is a shrimp boat called that in Corpus Christi. Okay, and you can see there's some of the oil refineries that are printed on my shirt. So I did black on black and silver on black for some of these. And some are things I actually drew, like this oil derrick, and some are images that I took photographs of in silkscreen. So it's an accordion book. Yeah, this is on my shirt. And the stock of my animation is the mutant two-headed shrimp. So there's the mutant two-headed shrimp. And I should say that this smells really bad. In fact, I have to warn galleries when they show this that, you know, that I need some space around my art because it's stinky art. Okay, and there you can see some of the animals from the Gulf that were affected. And then the reason I put it in a film reel canister is because I sell it with the animation included. Okay, and the reason what it smells like is I wish I could share the smell, but I can't because it smells like rubber, like if you walk in a Goodyear store. Here's the animation, and this is in the actual oil pipe, so you can see the oil pipe, and you can watch just a bit of it. I'm using Vaseline with oil paint added. You'll see soil from my yard in a minute. Okay, I'm going to just speed it up a little so you can see the oil pipe because we're almost at time. So here's the oil pipe. So I'm going to stop it there and show you the oil pipe. It's aluminum. It's lightweight, and that's an MP3 that just fits into the oil pipe. So that was a big project, and I even repurposed a vintage RV and traveled all over Texas exhibiting more work from that show. Okay, I think that was a good place for me to stop. So I'll stop the share, and we're, I believe, right at time. So you got an overview of one of my mini projects.
Thank you so much, Sabra. And I also, Sabra, I wanted to mention, has worked a lot with Sachs Eco Center. Yes. So at the Eco Center, there is a lot of work being done for the environment and the community and sustainability. And in particular, their support has been tremendous here in working with Tanvi, and we're looking forward to setting up more programming. So keep us in mind there. So we have some questions coming in, and I'd like to begin with the first question for all the artists. What's your process for exploring new materials? What comes first, the material or the idea, or both?
Good question.
So who would like to take that question?
I can talk. Okay. Am I audible?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think that's an interesting question. And this is the first question that I ask every artist whom I interview for my research. You know, and I've got the responses, and I know as an artist, I think it's both ways. You know, sometimes it's the material and sometimes it's the idea first. So for me, it works both ways, and it's not really you know, rigid plan that I follow. So I think I just see you know, what inspires me. Yeah.
Anybody else want to address that?
I think it's kind of both. It goes back and forth. I felt very arbitrary to call myself a ceramic artist for so long. I think the material must be part of the message. So they play back and forth. I have an idea, I have a material, then troubleshoot the material, then go back. Oh, this material is doing something in the environment. How can I shape it and change it? They talk to each other.
I think for me, with specifically the Slick book, I did the animation first, and then my gallery was wanted me to make a book, and she also wanted to show the animation, but I was like, I want to make a book that's relevant to this idea. And so I just started visiting all these industrial sites, businesses throughout San Antonio, and had definitely had some adventures. And I like interacting with craftspeople and business owners, and introducing them to my world as an artist. So I find that really fun. That's its own adventure, finding those kinds of materials and collaborating with people outside of the art scene.
Is there any other questions? Something that sparked your interest? Anybody, you could just speak out.
Oh.
Okay, here's a question here from Jennifer. You all create fairly high-end pieces. Have you received any pushback on using trash in your work?
You know, it's funny, this week, I got a call from Cash App. Square is the parent company. They want to buy all eco art because they're going carbon neutral by 2030. And using trash has definitely been something I've been worried about for my collectors, because there's lots of issues with it. Plastic is UV sensitive. I'm putting it all together with silicone. I am not thinking of anything archival, which is what a collector would want. But it sounds like collectors, what their responsibility or what's important to them is changing. And now it's supporting artists that are concerned about the environment, which is exciting.
I just found out that it's difficult to get people cannot unmute. So we'll go ahead and take a couple more questions via chat. And I have one here, or actually a comment. It might be interesting to mention where people can find out more information on the artist's work and who is carrying their art. We'll definitely be providing you with the links to both Sabra and Calder's work. I think there's also some artists here who are working with unconventional media, and I would encourage you to actually also put your links here. This is a topic that is fairly new, and people are excited to learn about a variety of artists, some more formally trained, others that are just starting, and some, as we found out yesterday, going to creative reuse centers and or in San Antonio spare parts. So there's a lot of conversation around this. There's also at Saks Eco Center where people can come and explore much of this new media that's being used in art. I am not able to keep up with all the comments coming in, but I think if you can read them there for yourself. Let me take one more question that I just saw come up. And what was this? Okay, what do they think of conservation of their conservation of their work? Do they think of their art as ephemeral? So that's a wonderful question, and I think you were starting to address that, as a matter of fact, Calder. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, it's definitely not archival. And that is a concern, because now people, like I said, people are wanting to collect the work. So I've been crocheting with plastic bags. It's UV sensitive. If too much light is on it, it photodegrades. So now I'm using t-shirt materials, because fashion, next to the oil industry, the fashion industry is the greatest polluter. So there's a new material to go play with. So it's play. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out eventually.
Yes, and I think there was a question there also about the research. We know that Tanvi is completing her research, which will be a publication. And I think as soon as we get that, there will be that will be shared. Also hoping that Tanvi can be here in San Antonio with us in the near future. Any comments? Any other information? Okay, well, I want to thank y'all again for coming today, and to let you know that tomorrow we're going to actually be having a roundtable discussion. And this will be an opportunity where we can all talk instead of doing a presentation of artists, and talk about what's going on in the community. We have people that will be visiting us from Austin as well. So it will not only just be in San Antonio, but in Austin, and you'll get to meet some other artists, and as well as we will have Jennifer and from Austin Creative Reuse Center, and we will have Mary from San Antonio's spare parts here. So if y'all will join us tomorrow, it starts at 2 o'clock, and there's been, we might be able to put up the registration, Isabel. Thank you, everybody. Alejandra?
I'm sorry. Thank you so much to Alba, Tanvi, Sabra, and Calder for these fantastic presentations. I truly enjoy them. I think they are very original and creative, and they are really a statement, each one of the things that we saw. So thank you so much for your creativity and for sharing with us. I also would like to very specially recognize my colleagues from the city of San Antonio, from the Global Engagement Office one more time, to thank them for their collaboration and their generous partnership, always participating in initiatives from Alamo colleges, and we are very happy also to participate in activities that are put together by the city of San Antonio. So thank you so much again. I would like to recognize you, and thank you to everyone that participated today. It was a pleasure to be here with you all.
Thank you. Let's all take our microphones off. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank you, Alejandra. Congratulations. That was very good. Thank you.
Bravo,
so
bravo,
much.
bravo. Bye-bye.
Everyone, thanks for
Bye-bye.
joining today.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Isabel, good job. Thank you so much.
Hey, Calder, look at my blind
Oh,
salamander.
how cute.
It's from Cascade Caverns.
Where's that?
It's on I-10, just out west of San Antonio.
Oh, very cool.
It's using malachite to make the green and a Brazil wood to make the.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I handmade all the materials.
Beautiful. I love
Yeah.
salamanders.
And I worship Ruth Asawa. I'm so sorry to hear of her passing.
Well, thank you so much again. Now that we are in petit comité, thank you so much. I think it was really, really interesting, and I truly enjoyed it. This was fantastic, and look forward to more collaborations with Tanvi and Calder and Sabra and Dr. De Leon and everyone. This was really unique. I think we're very fortunate to being able to put these showings and demonstration virtually, right?
Yeah, that was great, and
That was great. Yeah, we
here and the Chancellor, that was really wonderful. Thank you all for arranging for that to happen.
Thank you, Alba, for being
Okay,
the brain behind the whole event. It
so
was
I hope to
beautiful.
see y'all tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Okay.
Isabel, thank you so much for everything.
Okay, and tomorrow, like, we're gonna have like less security features, so everyone will be able to talk and join the conversation, Alba.
Yes. And Alejandra, can I talk to you as soon as we get people and leave just about 5 minutes if I can talk to you?
Yeah, sure.
Let me just make you host so I can leave the conversation and you can stay.
Okay, great.
Oh, that was amazing.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay,
Hey,
thank
Jennifer,
you
it's great
all.
to see you
Good
again.
night.
Okay,